Biological women deserve fairness.
You should not be competing in women's sports.
The policy that we have announced is based on science.
This lesbian has had plenty of girlfriends with penises.
The Olympics just banned trans women from competing against biological women, and in this video, we're going to go through the varying perspectives of this all. From trans women supporting this, from trans women just completely crashing out over this, and to the opinions of everyday people like you and I. There's just a lot to be said on this topic. And let this video also be a reminder that you're not alone in thinking the way that you do. So if you like this type of commentary, just real, honest takes, then be sure to subscribe.
Female bodies are just as strong, as fast and capable as male bodies.
Are they? Because we have countless examples of trans women completely crushing biological women in these sports, and off the bat, male versus female, that's just not fair. I mean, we have weightlifting.
43-year-old Laurel Hubbard, who transitioned from male to female.
We have running. We have volleyball. We have cycling. We have long jump.
Oh my God.
We have swimming.
I was just happy to be here trying to race and compete as best as I could.
All of these are endless examples of why off the bat, it doesn't take a lot to look into this to just say, hey, maybe there's a reason we have men's sports and women's sports, and it's not inherently bad. Maybe there's a reason to explain, biological men are different from biological women, and maybe, just maybe, we should keep them separated. This is the prime reason why the Olympics just said, the IOC, the International Olympics Committee, is that the Olympics Committee has setting new rules excluding transgender women from the 2028 Olympics. And they're doing this because they finally can see, and including pressure from Donald Trump, honestly, who has been pushing really against having trans women in sports in totality. They're acknowledging, hey, there is some unfair advantages, and we're going to get into the video that they actually put out. They had a spokesperson actually come out and make a video about this, but they're finally putting it out for what it is. I'm just glad that sources like Ground News exist so we can finally just get the news for what it is, because you already know the left is crashing out about this and the right is celebrating it. And no matter how I personally feel about it, I just want to get the news for what it is, and that's what Ground News equips us to do. Ground News is a website and an app that shows you how the same story is being framed across the political spectrum. That way you're not stuck just reacting to one side of the events. Ground News pulls the news from hundreds of outlets and organizes it by story, and their blind spot feature shows you which stories are heavily covered by one side and barely talked about by the other. And that's honestly my favorite feature, and that's the most important thing to me, because sometimes it's not even about how the story is being framed, it's if you're even hearing the story at all. So when it comes to reading the news, and instead of going to this source, that source, this source, that source, you can just go to Ground News and see all the sources in one. You can compare the coverage side by side, you can see the bias distribution, the ownership, the reliability, and then you can decide for yourself. So if you want to try this out, be sure to tap the link below or scan the QR code here on the screen. Additionally, they're giving you 40% off the Vantage plan, which is the one that I use. It unlocks all the cool features, and this comes out to the price of like a coffee a month, which again, in this media landscape is beyond worth that to me, because it makes me feel more equipped to talk about the news with you guys, and even when I'm just out and about with my friends. Because if we're going to sit here and be well versed in politics or culture or whatever's going on in the world, we should at the very least be looking at the same scoreboard and have a sound grounding in how you feel on a topic, because you've looked at all sides. So with that being in mind, always be sure that you're forming your own opinion and you're not renting one. Be sure to check out Ground News.
Today, we, the International Olympic Committee, have published a policy on the protection of the female category. I understand that this is a very sensitive topic. As a former athlete, I passionately believe in the rights of all Olympians to take part in fair competition. The policy that we have announced is based on science, and it has been led by medical experts with the best interests of athletes at its heart.
I'm glad they're doing this, but I'm also like, okay, where has the science been all these years? I guess you wanted time to study it, but it's just like, it seems like common sense. Biological women over here, biological men over here. I'll give you where credit's due. You're changing it now, but like, where has all this been this entire time?
The scientific evidence is very clear. Male chromosomes give performance advantages in sports that rely on strength, power, or endurance. At the Olympic Games, even the smallest margins can be the difference between victory and defeat.
And none of that is hateful. Again, there's a reason why men's sports and women's sports are separate, and they exist in the first place. Men are just naturally stronger than women. It is what it is. Are there some women out there who can beat my ass? Yes. They exist. There are some women that can dominate me in sports, yes. But on average, that's not the case.
So it's absolutely clear that it would not be fair for biological males to compete in the female category. In addition, in some sports, it would simply not be safe.
Yeah.
Every athlete must be treated with dignity and respect, and athletes will only need to be screened once in their lifetime. There must be clear education around the process, with counseling available alongside expert medical advice.
So they're doing the nice way out. They're doing what they can to appease all the different crowds, but ultimately, it just makes sense.
This is a horrifying precedent. And we know it's not about fairness in sports, because remember this?
Okay, I can talk about this. I can meet in the middle, especially when we're talking about fairness in sports, when we're talking about someone who clearly has a huge advantage. Those types of people have always brought up a conversation. This is something we can talk about when it comes to the super tall people. The people with a really long wingspans, like the abnormalities with certain humans and their ability to excel in sports and sometimes can be seen as unfair. We can have this discussion, but we also can have this discussion separately. Because if you're gonna call this out, I feel like you're inherently just agreeing with everybody else saying, yeah, if you feel that there are some unfair things in sports, at the bare minimum, you should agree that it is unfair to have men and women compete against each other. That makes the most sense. I'm open to have this conversation because even in is it boxing? I think it's boxing where you have the different weight classes so that it's more fair against who you're going up against. That makes sense. In basketball, if you got a freaking person that's almost 8 feet tall, just towering over somebody, scoop, here's a ball. It gets to a point where you're like, okay, it can be seen as a little unfair. It can. I'm open to have these conversations, but I'm also open to have that separately.
None of the commentary was about a biological advantage or disadvantage. These are policies that specifically target trans individuals, intersex individuals, and cisgender women. And using dubious scientific genetic screening serves to naturalize what is socially constructed.
Our biology isn't socially constructed. There's a reason it's literally separated. Yeah, this is targeting trans women. Notice how the conversation is never about trans men. It's never about the females that transition into male. Why? Because let's be real. You're having biological men fight against a biological female. They're obviously, it's not a matchup. But when you have all the, like I went through the beginning of this video, when we have the trans women, the biological male to female, competing against women, biological women, that's where we see a lot more of the problem. So yes, it's targeted at them. Yes, we're talking about them, and it's for good reason.
Enforce boundaries around what is and isn't womanhood.
What is womanhood if you can't define what a woman is? A woman's just being a woman. Well, what is that? Not even trying to be hateful, not even trying to be bigot, not even trying to be rude, but like if you can't define what a woman is, what is this womanhood you're trying to protect and proclaim? It makes no sense. I feel like there used to be a woman was an adult female, but that since has been co-opted by the trans community, and they're trying to make this term like, oh, you're a cis woman or you're a trans woman, which off the bat, how can you sit here and say trans women are women when they're trans? If they were a woman, there would be no reason to trans. Like now they're trying to erase the fact that trans women are a thing by just saying trans women are women. That's a woman, you need to respect them. If they're a woman, what the hell is a trans community? Nothing makes sense. It goes back to being too empathetic of a society. All these women out here, all these girls like, oh my gosh, it's fine, slay queen, yes, I love my trans girls, protect the dolls. You're not even thinking about the long-term effect. You're not even rooted in a sense of grounding or reality. How can you sit here and say trans women are women as if they're not literally transitioning? If they're a woman, they're just a woman. But you can't sit here and say that there aren't differences between biological women and biological men. You can't. And you also can't sit here and say we need to protect womanhood and you can't even define what a woman is. These things matter. Words matter.
I'm a gay man that's transphobic, allegedly, because I don't believe that trans women should be competing in women's sports. I was asked this question in my live stream earlier, whether I think that that's fair, if it's okay, if I believe that trans women should be competing in women's sports. And if you guys have watched my content for a while now, you probably know how I responded, and that is no, I don't, think that that's okay. Immediately that person responded with the transphobic claims, and then a few other people chimed in the live stream. My question is, how does me not believing that trans women should be competing in women's sports, how does that make me transphobic towards an entire community of people? Because I fully support trans women, I fully support trans men, however they choose to live their life or however they are, living their truth or being authentically themselves.
And the crazy part is the TQ plus community, the trans community, they're doing damage by calling these types of people, including me, transphobic. I'm fine with trans adults. You do you. Live your life how you want to live it. You ain't hurting nobody. You want to get a boob job. You want to pretend to look like this. Do you. I don't care. As long as you're not doing it to a minor, you're doing it to yourself, you're minding your business, I guess. You're a grown adult. Do as you may. But when you sit here and you target people like AJ, who is a great guy, actually spoken before, I'll have his information linked below. When you target people like AJ, you target people like me, or even target people like the viewers watching this video, and just, you're transphobic for simply paying attention to biology, you're literally getting rid of your allies. Like, you're literally getting rid of people who have no problem with trans adults. It's literally just leave the kids alone and stay out of women's sports. I've always felt this way. I've always felt that the gay community was being seen as getting the respect. I've always felt like the gay community was finally getting the respect that it deserves, that is warranted, that the LGBT, the lesbian, the gays, and the bis were finally being seen as normal, and it wasn't that big of a deal, and it was chill. And the TQ plus community came in and just fucked shit up. They ruined everything. And truly, none of this would be a super big conversation. There wouldn't be this big hatred against gay people. There wouldn't be this big hatred against the trans community if three, really. One, you left the kids alone. Two, you left women's sports alone. And three, you stopped calling anybody transphobic for calling out biology. Literally biology. Leave the kids alone. Let them grow up. Let them be an adult. Leave these damn women alone in sports. You're a whole ass man. Sorry. I have trans friends. I will tell this to them to their face, and we'll have these rough conversations. It is what it is. You're a man with a wig and lipstick. At the end of the day, you're trans for a reason. That means something. You are trans man. You're a trans woman. But at the end of the day, you're still what you were born, and you will never get rid of that. It's not hateful, it's not rude to point that out. But knowing that, that's why the sports matters so much. But when you want to sit here and call everybody transphobic for calling that out, you turn into the problem.
So I am curious how these people come to these conclusions, that because I don't believe, for what should be pretty self-explanatory reasons, that, the biological makeup of a man, even though you transition, you should not be competing in women's sports. How does that make me transphobic? Not everything is phobic because your feelings were hurt, right? I've been called transphobic. I've been called homophobic. How? Towards an entire community of people? No, my videos pinpoint very specific scenarios with very specific people.
Yes.
Not a complete asshole. I'm going to say that your feelings are completely irrelevant, but when we are having conversations that should be based in reality, they're pretty irrelevant. So I guess if once again, me believing that trans women should not be competing in women's sports, more specifically contact sports, if that makes me transphobic, I guess I'm transphobic.
At that point, I guess I am what you're calling me if I'm just trying to get to the root of reality. If I'm pinpointing exact scenarios, exact situations that I have problem with within the LGBTQ plus community, if that's making me transphobic and you're calling everybody transphobic, homophobic, they're just going to start claiming that it is what it is because the words mean nothing anymore. We've gone through this. It's like when you're just throwing out racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, everything under the sun, you devalue the words. You have people with trans friends. You have people who have trans conservatives in their life, other trans people that agree with this, like, yeah, we should be separated in these sports. These transphobic bigots, ban them, censor them. You're literally alienating yourself. When if you just kept it real, we wouldn't be in the situation we are in today. At all.
IOC has officially banned trans women from participating in the Olympics. This just came out today. In the statement, they said eligibility for any female category event at the Olympic Games or any other IOC event is now limited to biological females, determined on the basis of a one-time SRY gene screening. So trans women have been able to participate in the Olympics since 2004. That is 22 years. Guess how many trans women have won an Olympic gold medal? 0.
That doesn't matter. That does not matter. When we already know off the bat, it's just unfair. We already know off the bat, there's a reason these two sports are separated. That, all these scenarios, well, it doesn't happen that much. It's such a small segment of society. It doesn't matter. What's wrong is wrong. And we don't need to wait for all these examples of the trans, like in the beginning of this video, trans women dominating things for them to start getting medals and stuff. Like, why can't we just base things in reality and leave it alone? Why can't we do that? This is a common argument that's always being said. Well, it's such a small minority. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Because we need, if we're going to coexist and live together, we need to have some type of basis or truth. We need to have some type of reality, some type of grounding. Can we at least at the bare minimum agree on what a man is, what a woman is, what a trans person is? The bare minimum, please. And not sit here and argue, well, just because, you know, there are some trans women out there that aren't that good at sports, so let's leave them alone. No, again, F they feelings. We're too nice. We can't coddle everybody on this damn planet. It's not going to happen. It does not exist and will not exist. Not everybody's going to be happy. Not everybody's going to get what they want. It's life. Life sucks. Move on. Grow the fuck up. You're going to be dealing with shit your entire life that's going to be hard, and you can work your way through it. I talk about at the end of every single video. If you literally have put your mind to something and you have but faith and you believe in yourself, you can do anything you want to do in this world, but you have to focus on just you. We can't change what happens to us, but we can grow from it. We can learn from it. We control how we move forward. Do that. We can't live in this big coddling society. Well, we don't want to hurt their feelings. They're trans. F it. Y'all want to keep talking about trans people are depressed and trans people already go through enough. The hell you doing then adding on all the struggle and trouble for? Constantly adding struggle and trouble. For what? Just drop it.
Trans women have won a medal at all. 0. Guess how many trans women have actually participated? 1. Surely she must have done really well. No, actually, this athlete was a weightlifter. Her name's Laurel Hubbard, competed for New Zealand and placed last. It really seems like trans women participating in the Olympics is a non-issue.
She's definitely won some awards, and this whole trans people in the Olympics, it's a non-issue. It's just cut and dry reality. I don't even know why this video is a thing, why we're always having this conversation. It's reality. There's male and there's female, and there's trans. But just because you're trans doesn't mean you automatically fall into these buckets. Now, you in another different bucket. You're in another different category.
Because it is. But what is a big issue is sex testing now coming back. So sex testing has a really sordid history throughout sports, but the 60s was where we saw like a lot of nude parades and sex testing that had to deal with genital exams.
I don't know why there's always this big... It seems like there's this weird obsession with studies and, oh, well, here's a problem with this and we don't need to be testing for this and, well, there's a study for this. I don't mean to sound ignorant, and this may come off as such, but I'm tired of all the studies and examples over like clear common sense. Because I feel like to a certain extent, hear me out, you can make a study for anything. Are there scenarios where doctors are abusing their status? Of course, it's wrong, it's horrible. But to make the stretch and to cite these sources in this study, here's why, you know, separating men and women is problematic. You look like you sound smarter, but you actually sound crazy as hell. At least to me. Let me know in the comments below if you vibing with me right now. But I do feel like, and I've talked about this when I do some podcasts, I'm like, you breaking up all these different sources, you doing all these word jungles. What happened to just common sense? What happened to just reality? This does not have to be this deep at all. Just if you're a male, you're with men, and if you're a woman, you're with women. This is why people are homophobic. This is why people are homophobic, transphobic, because you're doing the most. You're honestly doing the most. You're doing the most. Let the men be men, let the women be women, trans people, y'all go have your own shit and move on about your day. But this is what's so irritating right now for a lot of people is the mental gymnastics and all these different citing sources and the studies and for something that's just like clear as day. It's clear as day. Men, women. I don't know.
Were gifted a certificate of femininity if you passed, and any time that your gender was put into question, you had to show your certificate of femininity. So that was obviously done away with. And then in the 90s, the sex testing was completely abolished because it was deemed as scientifically flawed, there were false positives, and it was seen as discriminatory. The chromosomes that your body has, it's not just male, female, it is a huge spectrum, and there's a lot of gray areas, and that's why sex testing was done away with, because these results and disqualifying of athletes was seen as arbitrary.
I'm cool with us looking in the whole like intersex thing and the different genetics that come up. We can have these conversations, but off the bat, it's not that hard. Oh, that's a woman. Oh, that's a male. If problems arises, then they deal with it. But this is so frustrating that it's like people are getting like this deep into it when there's a birth certificate with my damn sex on it. There's lab reports with my sex on it. I have genetic reports with my sex on it. It's not that deep. Are there scenarios where it can be taken advantage of and it can be wrong for some people? Sure. I'm open. I'm always open to hear you out. I'm always open, okay? I'm always willing to hear somebody out. I'm always willing to say, oh, I'm wrong, or, oh, actually, I changed my mind here. I changed my mind here. Y'all seen me do it on this channel a lot. I'm a human being like everybody else. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm the end all be all. No, we all going through this life together. So I'm willing to have this discussion with you. But like, you're blowing it up to a point where it becomes frustrating and it's just odd. It's weird. It's just weird. Again, this whole video is stupid. Men, women, we're done. Boogeyman. I don't know.
Y'all was sitting here reading something, and it was like a trans woman was excluded from like a women's event. And I'm sitting here thinking, good. I'm a trans woman myself. Trans women should be playing with other trans women. Like, they should make a category exclusively for trans women.
I love when people just call it out and say it for what it is. You got a black trans woman sitting here like, duh. Why don't we just have our own category? And if we want to be trans, then like, let's have our own category. Other than that, yeah, it should be separate. Like, this is what I mean. You ain't got to go through the loops and hoops of all the different studies and what's wrong and what's not. Literally, this. Love the cut and dry. Love the simplicity. Just like, duh.
At some point, we do have to realize there are biological differences. I mean, there's no surgery to get rid of your big back shoulders. There's no surgery to get rid of your wide ass rib cage. I mean, we have to realistically think about it. There are surgeries that people get done, but none of those affect sports at all. I mean, yes, testosterone blockers do level things out a little bit, but there are still biological advantages, and it has been proven time and time again that there are. And I think it's extremely unfair that we think that there's some entitlement to it, because at the end of the day, being in sports is not a right, it is a privilege.
Yes.
And we are now thinking that we're entitled to something that is absolutely not the case at all. The biological women deserve fairness. They work very hard to then have to lose to a biological male is a really sad story. And I would never want to take part in that, because I know it is unjust and unfair.
Thank you. Again, I love when other trans women call out this behavior and just say it for what it is. It's just wrong. There are biological differences. We can talk about some nuances here and there, but if we have male sports and we have female sports, that needs to be locked in and defined. Point blank, period. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm identifying as a woman. No, that makes everything null and void. What's the point? What is the point of having men in women's sports anymore? Truly, what is the point if anybody can be anything at any given notice? That's what the route you go down. If there's no clear foundation, there's no clear definitions, there's no clear wording. When you don't have that, you end up with this lunacy. It's not reality. And we're not hateful for calling this out. She's not a self-hating trans person. I'm not transphobic. It's just literally so clear. And like, I wish common sense was common again. I truly do. Because like, these trans women were going through, they're like, this is stupid. Of course it should be separate.
And the idea that I have to get up here and say that trans women are women, and that's what I have to use my time to do, is absurd. Shame on you. Shame on all of you. And shame on you for using lesbian politics as a front for your transphobia, because this lesbian has had plenty of girlfriends with penises.
This is what I mean by not living in reality. This is what I mean by it's hard to coexist when there's no definitions and there's no sense. There's no common sense. I'm a lesbian who've had many girlfriends with penises. You sound crazy. You sound delusional. If you are a lesbian who's had many girlfriends with penises, you're literally just bisexual. You like both sexes. Or you're straight. I guess I kind of fall into pansexual because you like liking the whole, that gets into another thing. But you're liking the opposite sex. Like, when we don't have common definitions and we don't have a shared sense of what's going on and what different meanings are, everything crumbles apart. Nothing makes sense. And you end up with people who are just confused and going back to like, hey, well, I thought we meant this. And then people are saying, I thought we meant this. And you're saying, oh, they're homophobic. Oh, they're transphobic. No, we had a commonality. We had common sense. We had a common agreement on what made sense. That's it. We all came to a common agreement on what made sense, and that doesn't exist anymore. Common sense is gone, and you end up with shit like this. A lesbian talking about, I love penis. I can't. At the end of the day, I'm glad that the Olympics is making this call. I'm glad they're doing this because at some point we need to come back to a basis, we need to come back to common sense. We need to live in a shared reality. We need something because this nonsense is getting old. It is. And we're here speaking out against it. The viewers out there, if you're still watching this video, you're speaking out against it respectfully. It can be hard to bring up these conversations with friends and family, but if you do it in a tone that is respectful and you're just like, hey, this doesn't make sense to me. Like this idea that you're calling yourself a lesbian and you love penis, that doesn't make sense to me. And it all boils back down to definitions and what different words mean. And if we don't agree on what these words mean, how do you expect to live cohesive in society? People like that make it extremely hard to do so. They really do. So let me know your thoughts and comments below, especially if you're still in school, like the college, or you were in high school a few years back. Like, did you see a lot of trans people in high school? Maybe that's another video I'll make. Be sure to subscribe. But I want to go through the trans impact in all these public schools, whether it's public college or public high school, and how this bleeds into athletics. And it's just crazy. I'm a lesbian that loves penis. Girl, you done lost your damn mind. Anyways, outside of this video, I'm talking directly to you. If you still here, we kicking it. And trust me, in about a week's time, I have something for you. If you're still here watching this video right now, I have something for you. I have a lot for you. It's going to be on this channel. I'm going to be announcing it very, very, very soon. If you're still here, everything that is coming out is for you because you're a real one. But besides that, I hope that you know that whatever you're going through in life right now, it's temporary. This is a season that you're in and it will pass because it's called going through it for a reason. You're not stuck there. Genuinely. I don't know what you're facing. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know if it's family drama, friend drama, life drama, work, fitness, health, money issues. I don't know what it is. But as someone who's been through hell and back, you want to name it, the conversion therapy, being homeless, multiple failed attempts. I just always just lived my life in the viewpoint, well, since my attempts, lived my life in a viewpoint that what I was going through was temporary. Just because it's my life now doesn't mean it's going to be my life forever. This is a stepping stone. I'm going to get through this. I have a plan. I have a vision of what I want for my life, how I want to live it, the things I want to provide to myself and my family, and I'm going to get that. And you can too. In this world in 2026, ain't nothing stopping you. Create any app you want, any website you want, start a YouTube channel, start all these different businesses, rise up in the corporate ladder. There's lots of different things you can do. But it takes the hard work, it takes the dedication, it takes for you to believe in yourself. It really does. So I hope you know, again, if you're still here, I believe in you. And I hope that you're okay. So that being said, again, have a huge announcement coming soon. That's what's today. This video's coming out Friday. So yeah, next week. And I love you a ton, and I'll catch you in the next video on Monday. Deuces.